Welcome to the Significance of Wealth podcast, where we explore the evolving landscape of wealth management, private investments, and collecting as both a passion and an investment strategy. I'm Marty Salt. Today's guest is a new addition to the Destiny team who is changing the way the firm operates from the ground up. Sean Beierly is head of AI product and platform at Destiny Intelligence, the newly formed AI-focused entity within the Destiny family of companies. Before joining Destiny, Sean spent more than 2 decades in Silicon Valley and at Amazon, where he led an AI innovation team focused on automating business workflows at global scale. In this episode, Tom and Sean discuss why Tom moved early to create Destiny Intelligence and hire a head of AI product and platform as employee number 1, placing the firm among a small group of RIAs that have moved decisively on AI. They talk through what they're actually building, why the firm's proprietary frameworks matter more in an AI era, not less, what's coming for Destiny Access as a once-in-a-generation window opens in private markets, and what an entrepreneur or business owner should do right now if they feel like they're already behind. Here's your host, Tom Ruggie.
Welcome to another edition of the Significance of Wealth podcast. Today I have with me Sean Beierly, and Sean is coming to us directly from Washington State. We'll talk about that a little bit. But probably more importantly, Sean is the first guest that we've had on the pod that is actually affiliated with our firm. So we'll talk about that as well. But first of all, Sean, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Tom. Really grateful to be here.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to let you talk not only obviously about your background, but even about the new position. You've been with us. You're in your 3rd week.
Yep.
But a new position, a new company within our firm. But why don't you tell us a little bit about it, about Destiny Intelligence?
Yeah. So Destiny Intelligence is a new entity that Tom started that is really focused on the wealth management space and really looking at the trends in AI and understanding what are wealth management companies going to need to be successful in this AI age.
And so understanding that, what is your background that's going to lend credibility to us being able to carry this off?
Yeah. So I have a pretty long, extensive background in technology. I spent 20 years at Cisco Systems as a senior network engineer, worked in the business intelligence and data science space. And then more recently, I was at Amazon, where I led an AI innovation team, and we focused on automating business workflows and developing AI products for the staffing organization at Amazon. So I'm excited, though, to take on this new challenge in this new space.
I mean, Sean, if I were a listener and I'm listening to you, heading up an AI division for Amazon and now transitioning to, in the scheme of things, a very small, tight-knit firm, what was the process of making that decision for you?
Yeah, I think for me, it was looking at the trends, what's going on in AI, and seeing that there's an opportunity to make a real impact at a smaller firm where we were focused on a specific niche industry. At Amazon, it's such a big company, and we were focused on a global basis, and the scale of it is massive. And so the opportunity to join Destiny and looking at the success that you guys have had and the business that you built and understanding what I could bring and combining my skills with what you guys have already built was just a great opportunity. And I really felt like the moment was just right for that change.
Well, we are super excited to have you with the firm. It's always been a position of mine that I want to stay ahead of the proverbial wave, if you will. And it's kind of funny because you really fell into our lap very happenstance. I put it out there to a few people that we were looking to bring somebody on full-time to AI, and that actually is going to probably be my next question, but full-time to head up AI for the firm, and had my thoughts of what that would look like, and never in my deepest imagination would I have thought that we're pulling somebody away from heading up an AI firm within Amazon for us. So again, very, very excited about that. Tell me a little bit about you don't have a wealth management background or a family office background. So tell me, after the brief period of time that you've been working with us, and we've been talking for a month or so prior to that, where do you think the opportunities are specifically within the wealth management or family office space?
Yeah. When I first came into Destiny, what I saw was a technology stack that Destiny is utilizing that is really among the best in the industry, with Salesforce and Orion and eMoney and Microsoft 365. But what I saw was an opportunity to connect these systems together. And that's actually where we started at Amazon as well. So it's interesting, Tom, we had the same challenges, just at a completely different scale, where we had data silos. And so the first opportunity that I see is to really look at the current state of the business and look at each of these platforms, and then start to understand how we can connect them together so that from an AI standpoint, we can unleash AI on good quality data to make sure that we can grab insights and from the data that exists in each of these systems.
Well, I'm excited to see that happen, because it's always baffled me that we have these amazing technology platforms, but effectively they don't speak with each other. And if you help bring that to the table for us, just that in and of itself, that would be an amazing coup for us. But I do think there's other things that you're going to bring to the table as well. One of those things that when you first, conceptually went over this with me, it was kind of funny, and that's having what you call a mini Tom.
Yeah. Digital twin.
Or a digital twin of
Yeah.
Tom. And I thought it was funny initially, and what is really funny since is that everything I'm listening to, whether it's podcasts or stuff that I read, it's talking about people building digital twins of themselves. So I don't know if I was just missing it before, or it took becoming aware of it for me to pay attention to what others are doing. But what else do you think really gets brought to the table? We have a 6-month plan outline. Maybe give a little bit of a background on what that 6-month plan looks like.
Yeah. Well, first off, to your comment around the digital twin, it's funny how that happens. When you get that bug in your ear, you start to listen to, it's like the algorithm sort of picks up on that, and it becomes part of your.
That's like an antenna's up.
Yes, yes. And it just appears everywhere. In regards to the 6-month plan, I think that almost regardless of any business, when you come in and you're looking to assess AI readiness, it starts with an understanding of data, because the data is going to fuel your AI capabilities. And so understanding where are the sources of truth, what is the current state of each of those different systems and platforms is critical as a foundational layer. And the next is security. And so understanding the security posture, and understanding how you can build on top of that and what you can actually do in an industry like wealth management is going to be critical. So those are a couple of the foundational pieces. And from there, we look at what are some of the firm's goals and biggest business constraints or problems that we can help solve or unlock. And that's where we're looking at the digital twin, which can be used in many different use cases to fuel your productivity, to give you time back to spend more time with clients. So really looking at a quick win, something that's very tangible that we can deliver based on that data to show that proof point of the investment itself.
Mm-hmm.
So in the first 6 months, it's about data, it's about security, about quick wins. And I would say, additionally, it's about communicating to the team what the journey is going to be so that you bring the people along as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had our team meeting just last night, and was great to have you in town to be able to address the team and meet a lot of the people on the team for the first time. So I think everybody's very excited about, what you're going to bring to the table. So
yeah, thank you. That's one of the reasons that drew me to this opportunity, was to see what you all have built as an award-winning team. And so, yeah, it was great to meet the team and understand, what they all do and how they're going to help partner to make this initiative a success.
yeah, and that actually was a question of mine, which is and you just partially answered it, but what is it that brought you to us? We went through an interview process, but I know you were talking to other firms. I assume not in our business, but I don't actually know that. But what was your decision making process behind making a huge decision to jump from Amazon, where you were currently working when we first started talking, to jumping on board with us?
Tom, at that time when I had made that decision to move on, I had spent over 25 years total in global technology, working in AI and machine learning and data science. And with everything going on right now, there's a great opportunity to make an outsized impact with the democratization of the tools that are available. I actually started out forming my own firm, just a one-person consulting company where I could deliver implementation services to businesses. But then I had the good fortune to be connected with you just to have a conversation. And through that conversation, I became more aware of who you are, what you've accomplished, and I really took a close look at like what was going to be the best path for success and what would be most exciting, and was really an opportunity to partner with you and to join your firm. And so it actually became a pretty easy decision for me. And I still get to build with AI, and you've empowered me to really help transform your business. And so I still get to do what my mission was, but now I get to do it for Destiny.
If you were a client of ours listening to this podcast, what do you think is the tangible benefits for the clients? Because candidly, if I'm a client, my first question is going to be, oh, this is great, but what's in it for me?
Yeah. Well, if I was a client, I think what the investment that you've made in AI would signal to me is that the firm that I'm working with to help me manage my wealth is going to be using the latest and the most powerful tools and technology to help solve problems for me and to guide my wealth planning. And I think if you weren't using those technologies and tools, I think I would wonder where, whether or not we're ready to navigate the future with all the changes in the markets and the companies that are being disrupted through AI. I want to know that, you're continuing to innovate and provide high value services to me, solving complex problems with the best tools and data.
Yeah. And I think that all makes perfect sense. But I think in addition to that, and I'll speak for myself, but also really for the other advisors within the firm. But the bottom line is if you free bandwidth up for me, I'm going to utilize that bandwidth to create and provide additional value for the clients that I'm working with. And, there's no doubt about it that my personal bandwidth is probably the biggest issue that I have. And as we discussed earlier today, I'm obsessive about doing things and being there for my clients, and freed up bandwidth is going to be significant for both myself and for them. So
yeah, we absolutely can do that. And I also think we're going to free up bandwidth for the financial advisors on the wealth planning side as well. And that's going to enable them to focus even more on client relationships and doing things that they're best positioned to do that made Destiny the company that it is today.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Destiny Intelligence, because, when we first started talking and I said, hey, here's my thought process. We're going to set up a separate company. We're going to call it Destiny Intelligence, because a question that I had for you that you gave me the answer I was precisely looking for is I said, hey, Sean, if we actually execute on this over the first 6 months, do you remember the question? I said, if we actually execute on this over the first 6 months, where do you think that puts us versus our peer group?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do.
And your response was?
My response was, we're going to be in the first movers, right? And I think that one thing I've learned working in the technology space is that, as I mentioned to you earlier, speed is a leadership decision. And in this space where things are moving so fast, you're either a firm that is leveraging AI or not, and there's a bar there. And then among the firms that are, those that are moving early and fast and decisively are going to be best positioned to capture opportunity. And that was what drew me to Destiny as well, was how decisive you were in making that investment. And just to speak very plainly, I was like, that's somebody I want to work with. And so I think that first movers get first movers advantages. And I think that right now is a great time to be in that early pack.
I agree, but I got to correct you. Your response was actually, we're going to be ahead of 99.9% of our peer group, is what you said.
Yeah.
And do you remember what my response to that was?
I do not.
Okay. my response to that was, is that scalable?
Okay.
And I saw this gleam in your eye when I asked the question, because what we were both thinking about is, if we can execute on this in 6 months and have everything in place that by the way, you outlined this for me before our very first phone call together.
Yeah.
Of course, I know you used AI to do it, but
Yeah.
but you outlined what the 6-month plan looked like. And I said, we would be ahead of so much of our peer group by having this. So is it scalable? Meaning, can we package that up and offer that potentially as a service
Yeah.
to other firms in the wealth management or family office space? And again, I felt like you were excited when I asked that question. Was my assumption correct?
Yes, it was. And as you're reminding me of exactly what the words were, what got me so excited, Tom, was the weekend before I had my first conversation with you. I think you may remember, I actually spent the weekend coding in Python using AI, a digital version of a wealth management firm with a multi-agent system with 11 agents, with you sitting at the top as the orchestrator agent, with 10 other agents performing specific job functions. Some of them were to assist the existing staff, and some were examples of showing how we could augment staff, people we may not be able to hire outright, but we could bring in digital agents as augmentation to form teams around your existing team. And I think that's what going back to your question about, is it scalable? I think when I built that over the weekend, I said, look, if we can build this in, 16 hours of development, we can do a whole lot with scale, with AI. So yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And actually another thing, and I don't know why all this sticks in my head, because I don't tend to have the best recollection of conversations, but another thing that you said was, hey, this took me, the better part of a half a day on a Saturday. Our call was on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
He said, this took me, half the day on Saturday to do. But if I'm correct in what you had said, you'd said, if I were to do this 6 months ago, I would have needed a team of 3 in at least a week to put this together.
Absolutely.
And that's how rapidly things are changing.
That is 100%. What's the change that's going on is one person companies, one woman, one man companies, where they're able to develop products in a weekend. You can go from idea to functional prototype in hours. And I think that where it used to take a team of people a week or more, we can now prototype these kinds of ideas, in a fraction of the time it used to take.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, one of the things I always try to do is to put myself on the side of the table, if you will, as if I were a client of myself or our firm. And if I were listening to this and I were a client of Tom's, and I have this AI expert saying, hey, we're going to build a mini Tom, or what'd you call it again?
Digital
Tom. See, I can remember a conversation from 2 months ago, but I can't remember that. But but if I were a client and said, okay, they're going to build a digital Tom, again, what does that mean for me? Is this replacing Tom? Am I going to be talking to a bot instead of a live person now? What do you think the benefits are to a client? And of course, I know some of the benefits are also inside the firm. So maybe give me a little bit of a taste of how this agent is benefiting both our client and our team structure here with the firm.
Yeah, let's start with the clients.
Okay.
You're only one person, and so your time is limited. And I think time with you represents among the highest value that clients can get from Destiny. We've got a great team as well that also serves a lot of clients, but every individual's time is limited. And so the ability to capture and curate a lot of the content assets that you've already created, you've shared your decision frameworks, you've shared your mental models, you've shared your company strategy and your approach to things like alternative investments and wealth planning, and even principles of leadership. And to be able to curate those things and then be able to scale that and make that available to clients as a resource for them to interact with, I think is one of the benefits to clients themselves. It also gives you back more time to be able to focus on client time as well. So for clients themselves, it's about tapping into your knowledge and having yet another channel to be able to do that without the constraints of your schedule and your bandwidth. I think internally, it also offers the ability for us to really automate and integrate your expertise into different business workflows, and that we've actually done some of that at Amazon as well. And I think at Destiny, I see the same opportunity again, just different scale, same business challenge to solve. And what we can do is then integrate your digital twin into answering questions from folks on the team, to integrating your knowledge into sales workflows, marketing workflows, and even customer follow-up.
Yeah. You mentioned workflows. So like, what areas in the workflow do you think would be the first two or three that we'd really be targeting?
Yeah, I think that marketing is going to be one of the primary workflows that we should be prioritizing. I think there's just a fantastic opportunity to get to scale the Destiny brand and the message and the value and services that you offer to clients. I think there's, whether it's on social channels, newsletters, the opportunity to be able to scale that and reach hundreds, thousands of people, I think is really the first area we should be focusing that on.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that brings about another entity that we're working on called Destiny Access, which is, effectively the entity that procures a lot of our direct investment opportunities into private companies, typically, late stage VC companies such as Anthropic and OpenAI and SpaceX. And so I want to segue to that a little bit, because we've talked about there's a couple different avenues that we can go down the path of for Destiny Access and our alternative investment platform. But I'm going to leave it an open-ended question for you, and then maybe come back to it. But where do you think the benefits are with everything that we're doing, which has become a significant part of our business, in offering these very unique, hard to access investment opportunities?
Yeah. I think for an example like these investment opportunities, AI offers the ability to curate messages to different target audiences in a much more efficient way than used to be possible. And if you think about all the different channels for marketing and reaching and engaging people, many of them are different formats and different messages that are tailored to different audiences and different content lengths and types. And so I think the opportunity to reach the future qualified prospect lists for direct investments, those people out there that are looking to make those kinds of investments, I think is really where the opportunity lies itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the marketing side. I actually think another significant piece, and we've talked about this a little bit, and I've obviously talked to my client base about this as well. But in my view, just to put my views out there, I think we've got a runway of let's call it 18 to 24 months where we're going to see just some significant things happen in the private equity, private company, IPO stage companies going to come to fruition. We already have SpaceX that is set to IPO sometime next month. It's being forecasted that Anthropic and OpenAI may not be too far behind them, and then even beyond that, there's speculation that companies we've invested in, such as Crusoe and Databricks and Stripe and even Whoop that we just recently invested in, they could be IPO companies within the next year as well. But that being said, that's all amazing, and if all that comes to fruition, I think that's really going to prop the market up and candidly possibly prop it up to an ensuing market bubble. And I've been thinking a lot about, what does the next stage look like for these private company raises that we do? And what I feel is that the pivot is going to be, at some point, pull a number out of the air 2 to 3 years down the road, going to earlier stage VC. And then we started having a conversation of where AI could be beneficial in that process, and perhaps the vetting process, or even perhaps the finding companies that it makes sense based on our vetting criteria. Would love for you to expand on that for a minute.
Yeah, and if the audience hasn't checked out Tom's article on the Destiny website on this topic in particular, I definitely want to encourage you to check out that article around the bubble, because I tend to agree with you. And having spent 21 years actually in Silicon Valley, arriving around 2001, I had an opportunity to actually watch a bubble burst. And
live and in person.
Yes, and I was right there at the bars and the restaurants, and you never knew who you'd sit down next to, and they would be leaders of different companies. But it was a crazy time back then, and if there's something to learn from that, I think it's what you wrote about, which is then being ready for that next wave and what you're talking about now. And AI offers an opportunity to utilize data that's out there to be able to create agents, autonomous systems that allow us to get ready for that next wave of companies and investments, and develop a radar where we can actually start to track and watch these companies and start to get some sense of timing of things and pick up on different signals for these startup companies that are really starting to, now with the power of these new models that are frontier models that are available, they're capable of the same kinds of innovation that some of these large players have been, and because it's being democratized out. So I think that our ability to develop AI-based screening systems that are looking for these companies is I think will also help you serve your clients well for that next wave.
I agree. What I found interesting was when we had a discussion about this, your comment to me was, yeah, we should start that process now.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we're thinking from a visionary standpoint, like I feel like I'm thinking, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years in advance. And then you're coming back and saying, okay, let's start addressing that thinking and that process now. And I think it's pretty incredible to, again, just have the wherewithal to do that. But what are your thoughts on what does that look like to start that process right now?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most valuable things we can do with our capability around AI that we're building for Destiny, for our clients, but also for you, is to free some of your time up and bring some of the technology that does enable you to apply your leadership and your trend spotting skills to this next wave. So your clients know that you're going to organize, you're going to make sure that you have a plan and a strategy for that next wave coming. And I think that's going to help us really set a competitive differentiator for the firm as well, as to, if it almost feels too early, that means it's just about the right time is the way I look at it, because you've advised that wave is coming. And I think that means we should take advantage of that early leadership and foresight and start getting ready for that wave right now.
I agree. And I feel like I work 24/7, but obviously I don't. But AI does, right?
That's right. And we had a chat about this, and I think it is also one of the really cool benefits of some of the autonomous systems that are out there. If some of you have used or heard about OpenClaw, it's an example of an autonomous agent. You can install it on a Mac Mini at your home, give it a goal or a task, and while you're sleeping, it's executing on different techniques to go and accomplish that task, whatever that may be. Could be investing, could be planning, what have you. And I think that is what's possible with AI and data right now. And that's what we're going to be focused on for Destiny, is looking at how we can set up those kinds of capabilities to be scanning and always on looking for the next great opportunity for investments.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Yeah. So I've always had this kind of inclination that, when people say, hey, is AI going to replace businesses, and specifically our business? I do think AI is going to replace a lot of businesses. And I think professional services businesses such as ours, although we're probably not as at risk in the immediate term as, perhaps law firms. A lot of different law firms would be, certainly accounting firms. But I've always fell back on the premise that as long as we're creating value, there's always going to be a place for advisors. And again, I think that holds true on the tax side, the legal side, the family office side that I'm in, the wealth management side. But what is your thought on the future? And you could narrow it down to our business, or you could make it broader to all businesses. But what is going to be the impact over the next 2 to 3 years for a business like ours, whether they participate in the AI revolution or not?
Yeah, what I've seen at scale working with 1,000 people who are going on this journey is that, AI will replace some jobs and some professions. It will also enable some people to outperform those who are not, right? So people who are working with AI will outperform those who are not. Firms that are adopting and using AI will outperform those that are not. And I think that is really almost a fundamental principle that I've seen personally firsthand. And I think that for Destiny, I think that, you know, that's going to be our competitive advantage. And I think that in this space, I think it's going to be really wise for wealth management firms to really make that decision decisively. Are they going to be in that group of companies that's adopting AI or not? Because the productivity benefits that I've seen individuals and companies get from using AI and using data is just so, as it's just dramatic. I mean, there's a new way of working and it needs to be embraced and adopted. But I think there are also still clients that value relationships and have complicated decisions, I don't think it replaces those situations. And I believe that there will continue to be those that need. And I think that those experiences will grow in importance and in value because it's even more so focused on relationships. Tom, I do think that there'll be a segment of commoditization that happens, especially with a younger generation that'll be more comfortable getting investment advice from AI or some of these large custodian companies that are offering commoditized advice. But I think where Destiny can focus and operate is in really your competitive advantage and that you built, which is the relationship piece and solving problems and delivering value, and that human touch point, I think, is going to continue to be the signature hallmark.
Yeah, I agree. I always say it's all about the experience. It's all about value creation, and you can look at AI as taking away from the experience and taking away from value creation, or you can look at it as a supplement and adding to be able to create more value and to be able to create a different experience. This is happening so fast. I mean, even the 6-month example that we gave about how long it would have taken you to build the digital twin. What do you think as a client of our firm is going to be different about the experience that they're receiving, let's say 3 years down the road? Mm-hmm. And again, it's going so rapidly, nobody has a crystal ball, but just curious what you think about that.
Yeah, I think it's the ability to really pair the personalized situation and of your client and their family with the investment opportunities, and being able to, I would say, evaluate more of the characteristics of both, and being able to present options faster, perhaps more options, and being able to make more confident decisions because you've weighed more of the different variables that go into making a decision. So I think clients will benefit from being able to to really have just more information to make a better decision, hopefully faster, and that's going to be our goal.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to close out on a few things here. So, the name of our podcast is Significance of Wealth, and we could directionally go a number of different ways with that. From a standpoint of what does that mean to you? We could go from a standpoint of what does significance of wealth as a generality mean to you? What does that mean to you from a standpoint of a career change? Let's call it 25 years into a very successful career in the technology stage, going into a sector that you have, at least from a standpoint, you obviously have experience on the AI side, but you don't have experience on the wealth management side. So, given all those factors, what is the meaning of significance of wealth to you, and to go down whatever road you want to go down?
Yeah. I think I redefined what that meant for me recently when I had a conversation with you, and you talked about how it can mean for some people choices. And I think whether it's choices in life, choices with your family, or choices of where you spend your career, where you spend your time, I think that wealth doesn't necessarily solve all your problems, but as I've come to learn, it definitely can help provide options and choices and decisions. And that's why I was really drawn to Destiny as well. Is I had a choice to make, and I was going to start my own firm, but again, looking at what you all have built and the opportunity to help you guys make it better was really, I'll use that word, significant to me. And I think that we're going to be poised to do some really great things for clients. And I think for our audience who are watching the podcast, business owners, entrepreneurs, I think that there's a real message here to a call to action to really decide, make a decision, be decisive about whether or not you're going to adopt and consider using technologies like AI to help you, to help your business, to help your customers and clients, or not. And it doesn't have to be complicated. You can start in some small ways, but I think that that's what significance means to me. It means choices and options. And I think our audience and clients and customers also have some choices that they can make as well. But I think for Destiny, we'll be in a very good position to innovate for clients. And I think for business owners out there, this is definitely a great example of a business leader who saw the trend and made that decision to invest.
Well, I appreciate that and
Yeah.
love that. And actually, you somewhat answered my next question. But if you were an entrepreneur listening to this podcast as it comes out, and you feel like you're already behind on the AI train, what would your advice be to them?
I have a friend of mine who is a entrepreneur. He's a business owner. He's owned an automotive service repair shop, right? He's got, I think, maybe 8 employees. But whether you have 8 employees or 800 employees, the advice that I would offer is take the time to actually get hands-on and build something. And I truly mean that to everyone in the audience. I've actually seen senior vice presidents.
You told me to do that too.
Yes, running 7,000 person organizations. They took the initiative to build something. And I think all you have to do is be able to provide instructions to AI in a natural language, just as if you were writing a paragraph. And people are creating custom applications for fun, for games for their kids, or to solve a problem. And so it truly means anyone can do it. And I think once an entrepreneur or a business leader takes that step to build something simple and just describe something, maybe it's redesigning your website, I think that you're on the other side of it, and it demystifies a whole lot. And so I think that's what I've learned is build something simple, and from there it will pull you right in the right direction going forward.
Very good.
Yeah.
So final question is, where can people follow what you're doing within Destiny Intelligence?
Well, thanks, Tom, for the question. The audience should go to destinyfamilyoffice.com/Destiny Intelligence, and you can start to follow and find out more about what we're doing in order to utilize AI in the business.
Awesome. Well, Sean, thank you so much again for being here.
Thanks, Tom.
I'm glad you're here in sunny Florida. I'm sure the weather's still pretty nice and about to get nice in Washington State, but it's been beautiful here. But glad you're here, and look forward to having you here some more, and obviously look forward to our day-to-day interactions as we build this out.
Thanks, Tom, and thanks everybody for listening.
That brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to Significance of Wealth on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. You can also follow Tom Ruggie and Destiny Family Office on LinkedIn and destinyfamilyoffice.com for more insights on wealth management, private market opportunities, and collectibles. Until next time. The expressed views, thoughts, and opinions belong solely to the host and/or guests and are not investment recommendations or opinions issued by Destiny Family Office or its affiliates. Investment advisory services are offered through Destiny Family Office, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Destiny Family Office podcasts are the sole property of Destiny Family Office, and information provided is for informational and educational purposes only. Learn more at www.destinyfamilyoffice.com/disclosures.